Vlad Day for Russia. Zelensky says 16,000 Russian troops dead as humiliated Putin faces defeat in Kiev and Ukraine fights to retake Kherson. President Zelensky has said 16,000 Russian troops have been killed so far in Ukraine as his soldiers fight to retake the first city that Putin seized. The Ukrainian leader, 44, said his troops had delivered powerful blows to Moscow's forces around Kiev and urged the Kremlin to negotiate an end to the bloody war. But he vowed he would never let any Ukrainian territory be handed over to tyrant Putin, 69. Mr. Zelensky also warned that Russia's bragging about its nuclear power is fueling a dangerous arms race. It came as advisor to Ukraine's Ministry of Defense Markian Lubkivsky predicted troops could take back southern port city Kherson today. Mr. Lubkivsky said, "I believe that today the city will be fully under the control of Ukrainian armed forces. We have finished in the last 2 days the operation in the Kiev region, so other armed forces are now focused on the southern part trying to get free Kherson and some other Ukrainian cities." Kherson, at the mouth of the Dnieper River, fell earlier this month in Russia's first major gain of the war. But a U.S. defense official said Russian control in the strategic city appeared to be waning as Ukrainian troops fight back. The official said, "We would argue that Kherson is actually contested territory again. We can't corroborate exactly who is in control of Kherson, but the point is, it doesn't appear to be as solidly in Russian control as it was before." They added that if Ukraine did regain control, Russian troops around Mykolaiv would end up sandwiched between defense forces. The official said, that would make it very, very difficult for them to make any kind of ground movement on Odessa. That would be a significant development, no question about that, in terms of the southern part of the war. Ukraine is also said to be close to major victories in the battle for Kiev as British defense officials said there was now a realistic possibility that the towns of Bucha and Irpin would be encircled by Ukrainian forces. The Ministry of Defense said Russian troops are facing considerable supply and morale issues, and it was unlikely they would be able to regroup and take the capital. Yesterday Russia signaled for the first time it was giving up on plans to capture Kiev and would focus instead on liberating rebels in the east. It was viewed as a humiliating admission of defeat for Vladimir Putin. But defense advisor Mr. Lubkivsky, he said, doubted the Kremlin's claims it will no longer try to occupy the whole nation. He told BBC Radio 4's Today, "We cannot believe the statements from Moscow because there's still a lot of untruth and lies from that side. That's why we understand the goal of Putin still is the whole of Ukraine. We can see now that the enemy is focused on the eastern part of Ukraine, but we are ready for any kind of attacks in different Ukrainian places." Sergei Rudskoy, chief of the main operational directorate of the General Staff of Russia's armed forces, did not rule out further attacks on Ukrainian cities. Today several loud explosions believed to be from cruise missile strikes were heard in Lviv in the far west of Ukraine. Ukraine said peace talks with Moscow continued to be very difficult and vowed not to back down on its demands, more than a month into Russia's invasion. Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba said, "The negotiation process is very difficult. The Ukrainian delegation has taken a strong position and does not relinquish its demands. We insist, first of all, on a ceasefire, security guarantees, and territorial integrity of Ukraine. Ukraine is now littered with the burnt-out wrecks of Russian tanks and armored vehicles, charred remains of downed aircraft, and the dead bodies of soldiers, many of who were teenage conscripts. As the fighting takes its toll on Russian troops, stories are beginning to emerge of anger and plummeting morale. One soldier allegedly drove his tank into his commanding officer as he protested horrific losses among his comrades. Colonel Yuri Medvedev was hospitalized with severe leg injuries after the reported incident. Russia accidentally revealed it has lost 10,000 troops, when the figure was disclosed by a pro-Kremlin newspaper. But NATO has said that figure could be as high as 15,000 with the total losses including wounded, captured or missing up to 40,000. If the estimate is correct, then Russian losses in just under a month in Ukraine are now the same as they suffered during their 10-year war in Afghanistan, which ended in 1989. President Zelensky urged his country to keep up its military defense and not stop even for a minute. He used his nightly video address to rally Ukrainians to move toward peace, move forward. He said, "With every day of our defense, we are getting closer to the peace that we need so much. We can't stop even for a minute, for every minute determines our fate, our future, whether we will live."